Yishai, can you just give me your reaction to the response last night? What do you?
I guess we don't really know exactly what levels of attacks of back and forths between Iran and Israel, what the level is. But I think we could all understand that the big change is that what has been a shadow war for years is now out of the shadows and in the front. And so if you see some of Khomeini's tweets, you could see what he's calling for, the destruction of Israel in toto. And that's the war that we have with them. And so it's no longer just their teammates in Gaza and in South Lebanon and in Yemen, their proxies. Now it's them. Now it's the Iranian regime, as opposed to the Iranian people. In distinction from the Iranian people, who many of them, including on social media, you could see a really pro-Israel, anti-Iranian regime. In any case, the regime is now fully against us. They think this is their moment. And of course, we're going to disappoint them.
Was it the right response?
It's hard for me to judge. It's hard for me to judge. I think that Israel should be a bigger player in this region, security-wise. I think that we could really help create a region that has stability. If we would patrol the Red Sea and all the way to the Persian Gulf and have teammates like the UAE, like India, I think that Israel could be a regional power that really brings stability to this whole area, pushes back on jihadism, which is the scourge of the Arab world and the Muslim world, and allows people to thrive around here. We could have unbelievable tourism. We can have unbelievable regional cooperation and economy. But it's stymied by the hate, by the machines of hate. And so I would like to see Israel be a bigger power that stymies that hate.
To be a bigger power, then, were you expecting a bigger reaction?
It's hard for me to react specifically to the tits and tats of this conflict right now. We were attacked on October the 7th by an Iranian proxy, Hamas. Hezbollah is ready to attack us with their armament, with their barrage of missiles. And so we have a situation where Israel is under threat. We got to push back. What the level of the response is, it's hard to say. I would love to see, and we all would like to see, and millions of people would like to see regime change in Iran. That would change the picture of this region. Is Israel going to fight for that? I don't know. But I can tell you that millions of people in this region would like to see the end of those purveyors of hate that are in Tehran and really destabilize the whole region.
What do you think you need to do to get rid of that hate then?
You know, when Iranian people stand up and walk in the streets and demonstrate against the regime, they get cut down. They get tortured. They get shut down. So this is a regime that's a hater. And then I think I heard that Foreign Minister Lavrov from Russia is saying that Iran is the victim here, and that they don't have any nuclear interests or nuclear bombs. That's a cover. We all know that they do. They say it themselves. And then I heard that the minister also said that Israel is the one that's causing extremism because it doesn't sue for a Palestinian state on this land. I mean, a Palestinian state would just be another Iranian outpost. And so you have elements in this world that are suing for destabilization. Sadly, like Foreign Minister Lavrov's words, and the Iranian regime. And then you have forces like the UAE, like Israel, like India, that want to push back on jihadism and establish a more a calm and fertile ground for commerce, for industry, for tourism. And that's Israel. And I think that Israel needs to be a bigger player in terms of security in this region. I think that's the future.
Are you concerned that, I mean, it has been described as a small, limited response. Are you concerned that it wasn't perhaps enough to deter Iran further?
I can understand statesmen who think to themselves, let's not get this escalated. I can understand where they're coming from. They don't want a total escalation here. I can understand that. People are afraid of a bigger war and a nuclear war, God forbid, and all these things. So there's, they want to hold fast. They don't want it to escalate, and that's understandable. The problem is that it's going to escalate one day or another. It will come. There's no doubt that it shall arrive at some point. Why? Because that is the stated goal of the Iranian regime, to destroy Israel. He said it in a recent tweet. He said, Jerusalem is going to be Muslim, Palestine's going to be liberated, but he really means the destruction of Israel in toto. That's what he means. So, unless those guys retire, which I don't see them retiring anytime soon, because they're making millions of dollars off of it, billions of dollars off of it. So, there's going to be a day, there's going to be a reckoning. It seems like that reckoning is coming closer right now. The region is heated up. Do I understand the people who don't want that? I can understand that. I can understand how Israeli leaders.
Are you not one of those people?
I would like to see a new leaf where jihadism doesn't threaten Israel. Right now, we have on our borders in Gaza, we've got these tunnels full of armament and readiness to attack Israel. In South Lebanon, we have 150,000 rockets trained at us, and these people are being funded and ideologically funded as well by the Iranian regime. It would be nice to see them no longer threatening us. When my country's threatened, I don't like to see that, and I don't want to roll that over to my children. Okay, I don't want to roll the kick the can down the road. So there should be a reckoning. We must deal with these folks, not to mention the millions of Iranians that are enslaved by this Iranian regime.
Does the concept of a reckoning not alarm you?
I mean, I'm much more alarmed by the potential missile barrage that might rain down on me or on my country or on my children in 10 years, in 15 years, in 20 years.
But this has the potential to involve the entire region, potentially beyond that.
Look, you have to be realistic about who your enemy is. I take the position of respect to my enemies. I think they're serious. I think they mean business. And, as I hear your British accent, I am reminded by the, great tension between Chamberlain and Churchill. There are these moments in time where appeasement at the end does not work. And sometimes, like Churchill said, it's like, when will the lesson be learned? And so am I concerned about it? You're damn right I'm concerned about it. I'm not taking it blithely. I'm not saying, it's not like, yeehaw, let's go to war. But at the same time, you have to have a seriousness and a respect for your enemy and understand that they mean business and they cannot and will not be appeased. They want war at the end. They don't want war. They want to destroy Israel. And we want to preempt that. We want to make sure that doesn't happen.
Do you want war then?
No, we want safety. And as I've said throughout this interview, we want this region to thrive, including Iranian people. And we've already started that. I mean, one way to understand the whole October 7th is that this was an Iranian strike against a recognition of Israel by Saudi Arabia. So this whole thing was pushed forward because they realized that Israel's becoming a normal part of this region. The Abraham Accords under President Trump. And so here they have a different American president, and they realize that here's the opportunity to stop Israel's success with the Arabs in this region. They want to make sure that the Muslims don't accept Israel. So the way that they did it is that they foisted this war upon us. And now we had to, of course, strike back, kill a lot of mostly militants, but some civilians as well. Then they want to portray that as Israeli genocide and aggression. By the way, Lavrov also used that horrific canard and blood libel that Israel's committing a genocide. And thereby get the Arab world and the Muslim world to hate Israel again and push away from where it was going, which is towards recognition and normalization. So we can't let them win. We got to push back towards normalization of Israel in this region, cooperation with the Arabs, with the UAE, with Saudi Arabia, with North Africa, with Morocco, etc. And that's the way forward. So we got to push back those forces of destabilization. That's what they want to do. They want to destabilize. They have a perfectly legitimate reason. They hate Israel. They want jihadism. They recognize that Israel is the opposite of Iran. It's creative. It's a force of light in this region, of progress, of human rights, of decencies, of opportunities for men, women, etc. So they don't want that. And so they realize that Israel is a force of I'll use a word that has become dirty, of liberalism, and I mean that in the sense of liberties.
Now, you used to work as an advisor to Ben Gvir.
Minister Ben Gvir.
Minister Ben Gvir, sorry. He's posted a tweet today, his response to the strike last night. And forgive my Hebrew, but it translates pretty much as disappointing or pathetic. He was disappointed in the level of the strike last night. What do you think? Was that appropriate?
He's a minister in the government. He represents a large swath of people. He's saying what many of us think, which is, okay, if you're going to do this thing, let's not start a little Cold War, a little tit for tat. You strike this, I strike that. Let's not go into that kind of mode. Let's go in the mode of victory. Let's take down the bad guys. Let's not let them have any way to think to themselves, Israel's a pushover. They have to understand that we mean business. So he represents a swath of Israelis, and I guess also if you follow social media, tons of Iranians as well, and people in the region who want to see Israel push back on this jihadist danger.
Does he represent you as well?
I think he represents us in this town. Not only him, but all the nationalist parties. But I definitely think that Minister Ben Gvir has been one of the leaders that has said Israel has to rearm itself. Civilians have to be armed. Prisoners, jihadist, terrorist prisoners should not be treated overly sympathetically. And he does represent a impulse of a strong Israel. And one of the ways that you know that he represents that is that the people that want to see Israel shrunken and weak hate him because they don't like what he represents, which is an ideology of, okay, let's not kid ourselves. These guys want our death. That's what October 7th represents. The October 7th brought a lot more people into the camp of people like Ben Gvir.
So ultimately, Ben Gvir, yourself, people living in this town don't think that was a hard enough reaction.
It's very hard to second guess leaders that really see the picture. I don't even know exactly what Israel struck. It's still shrouded in mystery. I'm glad that Israel struck back, but I just don't want to see it as like this kind of like a ping pong game. I want it to be serious so that we have deterrence against enemies that are serious about trying to destroy us. I mean, it might be a little hard for you to visualize that. And I respect that. You come from a different place, and maybe historical memory has waned. But when you have an enemy, and we Jewish people are schooled very well in what it means when enemies claim that they want to destroy us, they mean business. So it's hard for you maybe it's to put yourself in our shoes, but we don't want to be destroyed. And we don't want to see those powers that want our destruction strengthen. So people like Ben Gvir is calling out what a lot of people think, which is we gotta make sure that doesn't happen again. We gotta defend ourselves. And again, I think that's actually for the stabilization and peace of this whole region. The real destabilizing force. Look at Lebanon. Who's the destabilizing force in Lebanon? Hezbollah, right? They've destroyed that society, that country, that beautiful country. They've destroyed it. Who's their funder? Iran. Who's their ideological funder? Iran. Look at Gaza, one of the most beautiful pieces of land in the world. The very name Gaza has become, a negative meaning. But it's one of the most beautiful historic beaches in the world.
It's been totally obliterated.
It has. And who's at fault for that? Hamas, that launches attacks from that area. He's used it as a forward base, for jihadism. Of course, really who's at fault is Israel for ever having given away that piece of land to the PA, the Palestinian Authority, which of course became the Hamas. We were staunchly against that. We said, don't give away this land.
Where does this end, Yishai?
First thing, there's two ways I need to answer that, okay? One way is the way I answer my enemies, which is, if need be, we can continue this war for 1,000 years. We are not afraid of being armed. We're not afraid of being a military type of society, if need be, to fight off our enemies. Nobody should think that peace is so important that we're willing to just be destroyed for the sake of peace. We're not willing to commit suicide for peace. We're not willing to leave our land and to forget about our rights for peace. No. So that's one answer. On the other hand, there's a beautiful answer, which is the train that started going under the Trump administration, which is the train of the Abraham Accords, has a future. Has a future. I speak to Arabs all the time. I speak with Muslims all the time. I speak with every kind of non-Jew that lives in this country. If it's Druze, Cherkessi, Bedouin, Christian Arabs, Muslim Arabs, that tell me all the time, you guys have to be strong against the jihad. You have to push back on it. They will destroy you. They will destroy us. I remember in Gaza, the Gazan Arabs said, don't leave. They would say to me, don't leave. You don't understand who's going to take over. So the second answer to your question is, where does it all go? It goes towards regional realignment with Israel strong pushing back on the jihadism. But then Saudi Arabia and other countries recognizing that we are cousins in this region. We have to stop fighting with one another. We all want to serve God. We care about history. We are cousins. We're the children of Abraham. There's a regional opportunity that could come about if we don't succumb to the whims of Qatar, of Iran, and the jihadist ideology.
How do you feel overall about the times that you're living in?
So I'll give you two answers again.
Yeah,
it's very Jewish of me. I'm giving you the two answers. Okay, I can't give you one straight answer.
Is that balance?
Yeah, the deep answer is that we're living in the greatest time in Jewish history in 2,000 years. Okay, that's the truth. We actually are super excited about the time that we're living in.
Really?
This is the greatest time in the Jewish story in 2,000 years. This is and you look around this town, we are back in our homeland.
Why? Why is this the greatest time?
Because
thousands of people are dying.
Yeah, but they were dying before we were back in our land also. World wars are not, we don't make, world wars, and the Jewish people are just defending themselves in these world wars, in these various world wars. There's a humongous power struggle here. But we're in a sense caught in the middle because there's, Iran, Qatar, they are jihadists. They want to destroy the West. The West wants to, we're as usual caught in the middle here. Okay. But what we're doing is that we're coming back to our ancestral homeland. To us, that is the greatest gift, a promise, a biblical promise, a historic promise. We're repatriating our land. If you ask any, American Indian, could you go back to your homeland? They say, yeah, please, if we could just go back to our homeland. We're going back to our homeland. We're an ancestral tribe from this land. We're back in our land, speaking our language, speaking the Hebrew language. Our country's strong. It's got a good economy. It's got a good military. And we're religiously minded. We're historically minded. We're about to have the, Passover holiday, and as the way we've done it for thousands of years. But now we're doing it back in our land. This is where we're organic. This is a big deal for us. Okay. And God bless those that live in Brooklyn or live in London, or live in any of those places. But to live in Judea, to speak our language, it's a totally different level of connection to God, connection to history. When we raise our children, you should see the incredibly holistic sense that they have. They're speaking the language of the Bible. They're living in the land of the Bible. They're fulfilling the commandments of the Bible, and they're doing it in fun. And yes, there is self-sacrifice involved in that also. Self-sacrifice is part of the Jewish story. That's part of our DNA. That's just the deal. So it's an incredible time. So that's one answer. But the other answer is that since our country has been doing stupid things, like giving away land to our enemies, things have become degraded in terms of security. And so, ever since the Sinai, so-called peace deal with Egypt, that we gave away the land, the Sinai to Egypt, which of course the Sinai was never Egyptian beforehand. It's a kind of invention. It was not Sinai was always a separate part from Egypt. But we did that, and then we gave the world the idea that we were willing to give land for peace, and then they took over more land, and we left South Lebanon, and we left Gaza, and then when you speak to any Arab, they'll tell you, you guys are shrinking. You guys will not be here in the future. Any Arab will tell you that. They'll say, yeah, you guys are, even the ones that are for us will tell us, what are you doing? You're giving away your land, you're shrinking, you're giving a signal to the jihad that they can defeat you over time. And so therefore, we're also living in a great time, but we're also living in a time of mistakes that are costly and cost lives. And so therefore, in that sense, it's a time to roll back the policies of the two-state solution, and to be strong in your land. Remember, though, very important to remember, Israel is a minuscule part of the Middle East. Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
You may put your sunglasses back on.
Oh,
Thank you.
Me too. Thanks.
Okay, I hope that was a little bit helpful.
Now get back to your scribbing.